And we live.
Yay.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. For those of you watching, I am live in the Financial Healing Sisterhood group and on my personal page, on business page, we everywhere.
All the
If you don't know me, my name is Janae Wynn, personal finance strategist. I help women remove financial shame and smash their financial goals one step at a time. I am also the CEO of Financial Healing for Women, where we partner wealth, biblical principles, and tangible techniques that help you see real transformation and live the abundant life that God called you to have. So, I'm not going to prolong this today. I have the pleasure of being joined by the amazing Eddisa Rojas. She really is like one of my favorite people. I tell her this all the time. I love her. She has such a great spirit. But she's also a part of the Abundant Living Coaching Program,
Yeah.
which is a financial coaching program that helps the women in there heal their finances, their lives, smash their financial goals.
Yeah.
And she's a part of that. So we just came to talk to you guys today. She want to share her story and just give her the floor. So first of all, how you doing?
I am doing well. I'm
You
alive. I'm alive and well.
know, you've been on vacation.
Yes.
Well, not really vacation, but you've been,
Yes and no. Yes and
yeah.
it's been a wild ride. Yeah. So I was in
Mm-hmm.
Chicago over the weekend with family, and then on my way, I stopped by my parents' house. So I'm here in Kansas right now, and on my way back home to Oklahoma City, I got rear-ended. And so um car is completely total, but I'm alive. I'm here. So
Hey,
still
and thank
thankful.
the Lord.
Thankful, grateful, still here.
Yes, and thank God for insurance.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, literally. If you ain't protected, that's a part of financial healing and wholeness is
Mhm.
being protected and being insured.
Yes,
Saves you.
absolutely.
Yeah, I understand. What do you have planned today besides this?
So today, actually, well, since I don't have a car, I'm actually going to go drop my dad off at work after this, and I'm going to be using his car. I've been like all at home, haven't been able to go out or anything, but I've nobody else knows. Janae knows I have 5 fur babies, so I've been able to spend extra time,
5.
extra quality time with them.
She's sending me pictures, and they calling me auntie, and
That's
they're
auntie
little.
right there. They want cousins.
One day,
They're excited. I'm excited.
we do plan on getting a dog. Maybe in the next, I don't know. Wait till we'll see what happens in
I'm their number one
2024.
cheerleader. Their number one.
You're the auntie too, so they're gonna be coming
Yes,
hang with
yes.
you, hanging with their other cousins.
Uh-huh.
So
Just
that's
making the family bigger. That's it.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, those of you who are watching, before we get started, before we get going, there may be someone watching that resonates with Eddisas story. So share this out, share with your friend. Make sure you tag them in the comments. And if you're watching this live right now, type live in the comments. If you catch this later on the replay, type replay in the comments. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Anytime I do anything, I value people's time. So I'm going to value Eddisas time because she got stuff to do today. And I got to pack. Ugh,
Yes.
right? So today we're going to be talking with Eddisa about her story. As she is in the middle of her financial healing journey, and she just has a beautiful story, and I just want her to share it with everyone. So, if you're needing some encouragement and you are needing to glean from someone who is in your position right now, then you should be listening because she's amazing. So let's hop right into it. So, first thing I want to ask you is take us back to like what happened before you made the decision to get help with your finances? Like, what did life look like for you?
So before I was living, I guess you could say with finances, I was just living a life of like what I thought in my mind was an okay life. you could
Mm-hmm.
say. Everything I knew about finances was through hearsay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my parents, they're both originally from Mexico. My dad didn't end up getting his GED until he was like in his 40s. My mom only made it to middle school. So everything they learned, they did their best with what they had. But they would look into, like, they would try to research, they would try to read books, they would try to whatever they could grab onto to do finances. So I'm grateful for that. But it was kind of like maintaining you in a cycle, in a never ending cycle where being debt free isn't really like something that you talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just as long as you're getting taken care of your main necessities, living beyond that isn't something that was normal. So I knew, I guess you could say, with saving, I was good at saving, but it didn't do me any good because I was still in debt. So I
Mm-hmm.
could save, but I was still in debt. So it was like, it's like that never ending cycle of like, okay, I can save, but how am I really living free right now?
Right.
So where it really started taking a toll, I knew there was um, honestly like a generational curse with my family where it comes to finances,
Yeah.
because we're we are a very giving family, but that can become unhealthy in a sense when people take advantage of that and you put yourself at risk because you give so much.
Mm.
Um, so I knew that was something. So that was always a prayer of mine. Like, I want to be debt free. I want to be able to give. One of my dreams is to be able to retire my dad, and to be able to give him a paid off home and a paid off car. That's been one of my dreams because they've given me everything. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's one of my dreams. And so in order to get there, I was like, well, how do I get there? Like, I have all this debt. I'm supposed to know, like, there's kind of like this weight on you where you're supposed to know how to maintain your finances, but without really having the education about it.
Who taught
And I'm
us?
like, how does that make sense though?
Right.
Really, but how?
Yeah.
So I was like, no. So then COVID came, and that's where it really started resonating, both in my spiritual life and in my finance life. It took a hit, you could say. There was there was something that like took effect to the church, the local church I was going to, and that kind of like brought up a lot of my own traumas that I had not dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that, my finances started taking a toll. I started going through depression. I started going through anxiety. I was in this very, very dark place that I had never been at before, and I didn't know what it was. Um, One of my very close friends, she actually, thank God for friends. Can't we just say that?
Listen.
um,
Sometimes
man,
they raise you.
girl, when
In a
you don't got the strength, you got to use their strength.
right.
So yeah, so she talked me through and she walked me through, and she's like, that's depression, that's anxiety, that's burnout, that's all of that. And I was like, man, I didn't know like that's what that was. So mind you, I was a healthcare worker, so I was having direct contact with COVID patients, and I worked along with my primary doctor. So I knew all the right answers to say to whenever I would go into a consult. Like, for them, they do this evaluation to see, like, if you're going through anxiety or depression. So I knew all the right things to say because I
Right.
had been there. I didn't want to face it, and I knew it. And then there was one day where I was just like, okay, I can't do it anymore because it started taking a physical toll on me. And so then I was completely honest, and she sat there and she looked at me and she was like, I was just waiting on you. Like, she knew me. And so I was really mad. Like, I was angry because I put it on myself. Like, how did I let myself get here?
Mm-hmm.
So through those months,
Shame started setting.
yes, that shame, that guilt, all of it started setting in. So it was like I was already in a deep place. So let's go. It took me a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Um, so during those months, honestly, I literally say it was only by the grace of God that I was not in a substantial amount of debt, because I would not look at my bank account. I had automatic payments.
Avoiding it.
I was avoiding it because I didn't have the mental capacity to look at it. And it was so shameful. Like, if I looked in it, and if I ever were to see like the negative on there, I would have been like, nope, can't do it. Like,
Yeah.
just take it off.
Hmm.
So it was avoiding it. Avoiding it was the way that I was able to just like, I cannot, like, I couldn't deal with it. So then here comes, I lived like that, honestly, for about a year. About a year, I lived like that.
Hmm.
And then I visited the Gate Church where we go. So shout out to the Gate.
That's
Woo!
what I was gonna say. How did you? Because that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Already with your parents, and you feel like they taught you a certain way, by telling you mostly, and also by what you were seeing them do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because I remember you said something about your mom would say things like, oh, don't eat all that wheat needs to last throughout the week, like little things like
Yeah.
that were
Yeah.
seeds being planted of a lack
Yes.
in a way.
Of there's never enough, or there might not be enough tomorrow. So make sure that you save up to like today.
Yeah.
So I saw it as, in that mindset, like I get where my mom is coming from, because on a trip to Mexico, she showed me where she grew up, and it was honestly a little shack.
Right.
So I could see where my mom was coming from, and I understood because there was never enough.
Mm-hmm.
So it was living in that,
Yeah.
living in the never enough, and
Yeah.
that kind of like poverty mindset,
Yep.
and of like having to do things that you don't want to do, but having to do them so you could save yourself from getting into like living like you're poor or not having enough money or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it's having all these things, but things that aren't necessary. It was just like save it for a rainy day,
Yeah.
like that.
As if the God that we serve
Mm-hmm.
isn't so big and full
Yeah.
of abundance that he won't constantly give us what we need and what we want. And we can't blame our parents because they were just doing what they seen
Yeah.
and what their people seen and
Mm-hmm.
vice versa. And so as we get older, we gain new perspectives and things, we get to take on what a new belief system, you
Yeah.
know, and that's what you're doing. And so it's just so amazing to watch
Mm-hmm.
you transition. How are your parents like? How's your household? Because this is the first time you've been home since you started working on your finances. Like,
Yeah.
have they said anything? I know they were in our coaching the other day, like passing by, like, "Hey,
My
mama."
mom, I was like, Mom, they can see you. She's like, yes.
Did they say
So
anything?
they're
Or
actually my mom, because she actually loves finances. She really does. She's always been like the financial guru, you could say,
really?
from what she knows once again. So when I tell her, I talk to her and I tell her, look, like today is my my class. And then if she says like, have you done your homework? Like she'll be on me. And
I love it.
so she asked me like, okay, so what did you learn today? Or in conversation, like I'll tell her, because that like what you were talking about, like the abundant living, girl, when you said that, that was so mind-blowing, because like you don't really like, God is God, but you still limit him. It's like,
Yes,
no, there's so much more. Like
there
you
is
think
so
you
much
have
more.
some, no, no, he still has more for you. It's
Look,
never ending. It's never ending. And so there are things that she's not able to grasp just
mhm,
yet, like that abundance,
yeah,
living in abundance.
yeah,
And there are other things like, oh, okay, like, yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. And so, me talking to her and like actually telling her about like the classes and what I'm doing in my
mhm.
life, she's like, she could see the difference, and she's very open minded to it.
That's so awesome. I love that because they don't have to be. They could be stuck in their ways and.
Mm,
But it's interesting too how we could think about stewardship as one way, taking care of our finances as one way, and as a response to what we do, God rewards us, right?
yeah.
And he gives us abundance. And then there's another perspective where it's like, take care of everything because you don't know if God gonna come through. It's just
Yeah.
like, come on now. This doesn't even make sense.
What God
So
is that?
it's awesome that even that you get to show her a
Yeah.
different perspective. And
Hmm.
so you're doing so much for your family, and I love that. I wanted to go back to that because I just wanted to like really like allow people to see how their what they do in their finances is not just helping the future generation. So your kids and all that, they're going to have a different perspective and new
Yeah.
perspective. But your mom and your parents and
Mhm.
your siblings and all that, they get to see a different perspective too. So you're not just changing your life, you're changing theirs too.
Yes.
So huge. That's
Yeah.
huge.
And
Okay.
I've even thought about it in like a broader aspect of like not just my family, but for my culture,
Yes.
for like my people, because it's not just
Our
like
people, because I got a little bit in me, you know.
a girl. Yes, you do. She knows Spanish, y'all.
So
Soon to
funny. Okay.
come. Let me promote her. Soon to come, Spanish classes by Janae.
No, okay. She's teaching me Spanish and sign language. Holla at your girl, Eddisa, okay? Hello.
Okay. um. So yes, because like the way that they were taught, it's not just like just them, but like everybody. So
Yes.
like everybody, and so
Yes.
that's one thing that I noticed was like this is the mindset of like the same like all my Spanish speaking people that are like from Latin America, from Mexico, whatever. They
Mhm.
have a lot of similar mindsets whenever it comes to finances. So I'm like let's break that. Let's not live that way
Yeah,
because like they're so like they have so much to offer, and if they were to break that barrier and if they were to just be educated enough,
yeah,
man, they could do just so much more.
I agree. So
Yeah.
you talked about your breaking point with like in your season of depression and during COVID, and you said that it was showing up in your body. Like what was actually going on that made you say like, no, I have to fix this? Like what I know you said credit card debt, but what was that moment you're just like, I have to make a turn. I have to make a change.
Mhm. So I was honestly at that point, I would say I was just existing
Hmm.
because I was just pushing myself to survive another day. That's
Yeah.
that's literally what it was.
Hmm.
And mind you, I was doing all the things that you should be doing. Like I was praying, I was, still attending church, I was, still serving in the capacities that I could and doing all of that. But there was still so much there that like I wasn't being fulfilled, that wasn't substance, to my spirit and
Yeah.
all of that. And I was like, I can't. I thought back of like, when did this start? And then like, I really sat there and I thought of like, when did it start? But I can't continue to live like this because I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive another day.
Yeah. Like how can I pray, love the Lord, go to church, and still live l-
Yeah.
underneath what He said I could have, type
Right.
of thing? Like you felt unfulfilled in the sense of there's so much more to Him. So why am I not experiencing it in the area of finance and in the area of healing and wholeness?
Hmm. Yes.
Woo.
So it just came to that point, like where one day I was just like, there has to be more. This
Mm,
cannot be it. This is not it. There is more. Like there has to be more. And I firmly believe that. And I was like, okay, whatever it is that I have to do, I'm willing to do it. And that's where I said, like, I was honestly living the dream of like my dream job.
yeah.
So I was working at a community health center, and shout out to them because I love them. um, and so there was a position that was created for me actually. It was as a Spanish coordinator, and then I created a department that was the Spanish department because our Spanish speaking community got really big. And it wasn't just for that, but for all the languages. So more than like 300 languages.
Mhm.
And so that was a dream come true. But
Yes.
I said, whenever it comes to myself, I never put myself first. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Until it came to that breaking point, I was like, okay, whatever I have to do, I'm gonna do. If I have to
Mhm.
leave my home, mind you, I still live with my parents.
Yes.
I still live with my parents. I was, my dream job, my friends that I knew for like 12 years. But I was like, if I have to leave all of that in order to better myself or to go wherever God has for me to be able to get that freedom that I need, I'll
Hmm.
do it.
Yeah.
Then that's where the gate came in.
And tell us about that.
So I visited the Gate Church January of 2021. And it was the Sunday after the bishop had passed already. He had passed that Tuesday, and I went that Sunday. So I was never, unfortunately, able to meet him, but his spirit was obviously it was already there, and it was such a beautiful spirit. So you guys, my experience started from the parking lot. It really did. It started from the parking lot. One of my friends, he had invited us down. He knew that was a very heavy weekend that I had, and he was like, I'm visiting this church, don't worry about anything, just come over, just be here on Sunday. And I was like, you know what, at this point, I'm down for anything.
Right.
So I made it, and I got out the car, and I just stood there, and they looked back at me, and they were like, are you okay? I was like, you guys, like, I can breathe. Like, there was a breath of fresh air that I could breathe, and it was just stepping out of the car. So it was already an experience from there. And then walking inside of the church, like just with like the parking lot staff that was there, like they were so welcoming. And then the hosts were so loving. But it wasn't like anything ordinary. It was so authentic. It
Yeah.
was so real. It was
Same.
like it was coming from like it was really coming from the heart. And then I walk inside, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's already a lot for me. And so I remember one of the ushers, whom I love so much, she just set us to our our seats, but like there was something about her spirit, man, that I was just like, oh my goodness.
Mm.
And then the worship started, and I was out.
It's, oh my gosh, we love the gate. I mean, it really is a place of healing and restoration, and you see healthy people who are whole, who love the Lord, and it's not fake. It's not.
Yes,
It's
it's so
real. It's
real. It's so authentic.
yes.
Yeah, so man, it was such an experience. It was life-changing. It was really life-changing because I always say I will always give honor to those that are obedient to the Holy Spirit, because
Mhm.
when you don't do it for show, when you don't do it for for praise or anything like that, God will do what he needs to do as long as you're a willing vessel and as long as you say yes.
That's right.
So I'm so thankful for that, because that day was just for me. It honestly
Yeah.
was. I say that I went in like on nails, like crawling inside. I barely
Look,
made
when I
it.
came, I was the same way. That's a
Girl.
whole nother story. But yeah, I was like, oh Lord.
And so it was so crazy. And so after that, I was like, man, like I hadn't had a place like that for so long. And honestly, I don't think ever. So after that, I just made it intentional to like join live. If I could ever make it, I would. So I
Hmm.
would go at least once a month. I would go,
Hmm.
and then I was praying during that time, like for God to tell me what to do, where to go. And so he confirmed it for me. And then in May, I made that decision of officially starting to attend the gate as a member.
Hmm.
But I still lived in Kansas. So from May to August, I would go as much as I could. So I was driving back and forth. And so then, honestly, at that time, like I knew God was God, first of all, of course. But I knew, like, I was even afraid. I was afraid to even put my resume out there,
Hmm.
because I knew, like, God would come through like that. And so I was avoiding that. I was avoiding it. I was like, man, God, you're moving a
The
little bit too
one,
fast.
type the one in the chat if you've ever been afraid of that God's gonna come through.
Yeah.
I've been there. I know
Mhm.
that.
It's crazy because, like, we pray so hard of, like, God, like, please do this, blah, 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 whatever. This is what I
Yes.
need. But then when you know it's going to happen, you're just like, oh.
Because we have a work to do. He's a
Hmm.
God of miracles and all of that, but we have to do work too in order to obtain it. And
Yeah.
belief is a part of the work being done.
Yeah.
Faith is a part of that work being done. I love your journey because as you have acknowledged, right? I always say, if you want to heal, healing doesn't start until we acknowledge first that there's a problem.
Hmm.
And second, we've accepted that we are committed to whatever we have to do to aid and I won't say aid the Lord, but we do have to aid in our journey. Like there is active healing. Healing isn't passive. We can't
Yeah.
just sit and wait for him to clean up our credit. We can't just sit and wait for him to pay off the debt. And he does do miracles and all of that. So I'm a firm believer. But at the same time, he knows that in order for us to heal, we have to be a part of that process
Yeah.
actively to do that. So I love your journey because you came through a place of acceptance. You knew, okay, I got to do something. You let him move you through that journey. You put yourself in position. Position is like the right place, right? Which is the gate. And then you were just able to align yourself with all the other things that you needed financially, with different friends, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to point that out. Like, you have aligned yourself to be in a position where now you have access points to everything that you need.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Yes to all of it.
So
No.
when did we? I don't remember when we met. I don't remember. I don't even remember. Like, how did this come about? Honestly, because I'm just doing what
So
I do, and then here you come.
I know. Okay, so I think we had a conversation. You told me a little bit about your story, but that was when I was still living in Kansas.
Ah,
So it was I think it was after a service, but I honestly can't remember when that
I
was.
remember we talked,
Yes.
and I don't remember what we talked about, but I remember we talked.
It was that. It was that. I think you told me a little bit about your story because I told you about mine. Because my friend was saying, "Oh, she sings, she sings." I'm like, "Hold up, not yet. It's not time yet." Because I had a sitting season. Like when I went, it was definitely a sitting season.
Right.
Um, I had a sitting season there for a little bit. But yeah, so you told me a little bit about your story, and then once I actually moved there, so I got a phone call, and I was offered, like once I submitted I just put my resume out there. That's all I did. And I started receiving phone calls for job opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the clinic that I'm at today, they sent me a list of jobs and they were like, these are all the jobs that we have. You can choose whichever one you want. And
Mm-hmm.
if by any chance you don't like, um, or you see that it's not a good fit for you, then we can go with the second choice. So they gave me that. During
Mm-hmm.
that time, I also got a call from a government position that I didn't know even existed. I didn't know I could even apply for it. But whenever I got the phone call, they told me, like it'll take 6 to 12 months of clearance. But if you're willing to go through that process, then we're willing to take you. And
Mm-hmm.
so, still to this day, right now, I'm still going through clearance for that. But that's also another avenue and another opportunity, like where I never thought I would be going to, because I've always loved the medical field. That's always been something that I've loved. But this would take me into the government part of things, and not only working under one place, but multiple spaces that I didn't know could even like happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so these were opportunities that presented themselves to me. Like I never had to go and actively. All I did was say yes, put
Mm-hmm.
my resume out there, and then just receive the phone calls. That's all that happened.
Easy alignment. That's how that
Yes.
feels.
And when I moved, let me tell you, it was by faith and not by sight of my bank account because broke. Broke. It was broke. I was so broke. And it was like, I was like, this is literally like my story and my journey to get there was literally God. Like, where it could, like, He could only be the one that could get the glory for it. And it
Mm-hmm.
was not me at all. Um, then after that, I think in October is when I started going to the ends of October. I started going to the worship team rehearsals, and that's where we started talking a little bit more. But I think it's whenever we started following each other on social media that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think you had a special, and there was something that you were promoting, and I was like, you know what, it's time. Like I
Yeah,
cannot.
it was the program, the
It was
abandonment
the
program.
program. Yes. So that was in December that it happened. And I was like, you know what? It's time. I have to do it. Mind you, I was doing it so afraid. So
Oh,
afraid. Yeah.
everybody.
Because it's so shameful. And I'm like, oh my God. And then we go to church together and she has to deal with me. And then
Girl, no,
That
you
was
know.
literally my thought process.
I do not. So everyone who knows or follows me for a while knows I don't subscribe to shame. We
Mm-hmm.
already know that we've been through rough patches in life. We already know that things are probably not the way that it should be right now with our finances. But what good does it do us to make ourselves feel so bad about it? And all God wants us to do is move forward,
Yes.
right? So there's like a level of forgiveness. Everyone that comes to me and I talk to, Disa is one of many that I just feel shamed, and they're like, oh, but I've done so much. I'm like, but I have too.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else is, they're just not saying it. Neither or they getting help.
Yeah.
So, you are brave for stepping out and saying like, oh, I need to talk to her, but I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And saying yes. But what I want people to hear is that your yes happened a long time ago. Your yes happened when you moved to Oklahoma City, when you were trying to get yourself aligned, when you were healing. You were saying yes before you even got to me. But by the time you got to me, you were ready because you were already in the habit of saying yes.
Mm-hmm.
And God just needed to align you with the right person to help you. And
Yeah.
so I just, God is just good.
Yes.
And people need to be more in a habit of just saying yes, no matter what you feel like is going to happen on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
What's the worst that can happen?
Right.
You
Right.
get better,
Yes.
you grow, you save some money, you pay out some debt, you be free.
Mm-hmm.
What's the worst that can happen? So
Yes. And so I've always said, like Janae was saying, like when she says that she does not sign off on shame or any, like it's true. It's definitely 1,000% true, because I was already expecting the way that I was expecting to be approached in a way that I was gonna feel even worse. So when Janae showed me grace and love and she showed all of that, I was like I could breathe. I was like, okay, so we're gonna be able to do this. So it's not something that she just promotes to promote, but she lives by it. So I say it was not only life changing for me to join the financial freedom, but I say it was life saving for me.
that's life saving. That's
Yes,
good.
there, right there.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. I am honored, that I get to do this. Honestly, God, I always say God is the reason why I do this. Yes, I have my own journey. I've been through it. I've lived it, but it's out of my own journey, out of my own struggle, why I can resonate with people like you and others, because it doesn't matter how much you make. You can make $10 an hour, you can make $10,000 an hour, and you can still be in this same place.
Mm-hmm.
You could still be here and looking like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get out of it? You could still make 100K a year and
Yeah,
don't see any of that money and feel ashamed about it.
yeah.
So it doesn't matter. But how has your mind shifted since being in or working on your finances within the program?
So my I see finances in like a completely new light. It's not it's not such a weight anymore. It's not something that I avoid, or it's not something that I don't even want to deal with any
Mhm.
longer, because it wasn't presented to me this way anymore.
Yeah,
It's something that, like in one of the classes, I remember you saying, like make a date out of it. Like make it something to where you look forward to it, something that you like to do.
yeah,
And so just that, like that alone within itself, it was like a huge thing, because before I was like, oh, I have to budget today, I have to see like what I'm gonna be doing next month. I don't
right.
want to. So
It should be empowering because
yes.
you are literally getting the opportunity to have some control. And
Hmm.
I think that's what everybody wants. They want to have control. They're just afraid because they don't have structure. They
Yeah.
don't know what to do. And so, do you think because you have structure and you understand the how to now, you don't feel like so about it?
Yes, you don't feel lost.
Yeah.
Like you have a starting point. You
Hmm.
know And then the principles. For me, it was that, like, that's what sold it to me, was the principles. Because what better way of being held accountable than the word of God? Like, he, and that within itself was like, man, because I mean, for anything else, I would say, like, if it wasn't for that, I could easily like put every excuse and then just push it aside and continue to live the way that I was living, because I just wanted to like just spend my money and just do whatever.
Yeah.
But that accountability, that the principles, that was a huge part for me. That
Mm-hmm.
was definitely, so I see it in such a different way of where it keeps me on track.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps me on track because that's where I go back to.
Yeah.
And I'm more intentional with my spending. I know where my money's going, because before, who knows, I was probably giving it away and I didn't even know.
Right. That is so funny. But I I love it because I'm a big fan of organization and structure because it empowers you. It gives you the tools. You have the knowledge and the understanding. And also when God is convicting you, right? You know you need to understand the principles, and everybody out there, principles, if you don't know, they are just the word, the scripture that come alive and they speak to you, right? And they should speak to you. And when you feel a type of way about what you just learned or what you heard, a lot of times that's God tapping you on the shoulder, say, hey, listen into this. Like
Hmm.
you should be probably doing this, and you feel some type of way. So if you watch this and you feel like, oh, they all up in my business, that is probably the Lord in conviction saying, just tapping you on the shoulder and getting you to move in whatever direction. And so for me, I never forget it because I was broke. I mean, I had $0 and I was in my little closet with all the clothes that I was selling, trying to live. And I felt that conviction of God saying, I didn't tell you to do this. I didn't tell you, I wanted more for you. And I loved him so much. I'm like, okay, let me figure this out. You know, it wasn't because I was ashamed of what people said, only because my mother, because your parents, when they see you,
Hmm.
you want to make them feel like they've done good
Yeah.
for you and taught you and showed you the way. So she was
Hmm.
really the only one that I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? My mama gonna see me like this. But it was more so about him. And I was like, man, I never want to mishandle what you've given me. And out of that is what started my journey. Out of that is what started Eddisas journey in a sense.
Hmm.
And so, two reasons why people make a decision is because they're in so much pain or they have real dreams.
Yeah.
And for most of us, it's the pain that we have gone through that pushes us forward and makes us want to really see freedom. And so, last question. This has been so good. Thank you for chatting for me. I know there's so many people that are going to watch this back and they don't pick up these nuggets. And so what encouragement would you give to the woman, to the girl who's in your shoes, and they they want help, they're afraid. What encouragement would you give them? What would you tell them to do?
I would just let you guys know that there is no low place that is too low to get out of. Just
Mm,
take that step of faith. That one step, the one step, and you just saying yes will literally change the trajectory of your life. And it's not going to be a night to day thing. There is financial healing that happens in it. And those first two classes were hard. I'm not going to lie.
you
They
got to do
were,
deep
but
work.
it was part of it. It was just part of the journey. It's part of you being able, like, God cleansing all of, like, the mentality, the mindset that you had, so that he could restructure you and do something new in the way that you see finances, so
Yeah.
that all of that shame, all of the burdens, everything that you're feeling could be lifted. Like, there is nothing that is impossible. And literally, whenever you do this, you're going to have that structure of it's not only to set you free, but if, like, your dream is to be an entrepreneur, to have your own business, like, this is what's going to set you up in order to lead you that way and for you to be able to go.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So if you have any doubts, any questions, just reach out to Janae. If you have any questions, like
Yeah.
whatever it is, like honestly, your yes will take you such a long way.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And thank you for that. I work with people in many ways. Um, and freedom isn't just like, oh, I want to be debt free, right? But freedom can be that one step, feeling that debt fall off one little debt at a time.
Mm-hmm.
That's freeing.
Yeah.
You can sit down with your budget and be like, ooh, I actually am okay to come here. That's freeing.
Mm-hmm.
All those things are freeing. You saying yes is one step towards freedom. So that's why I am having my first financial workshop since COVID, and it's called the Freedom Experience. And during the Freedom Experience, this is a 1 day, it's an all inclusive workshop that gives you the tools that you need to see debt disappear and usher you towards a lifestyle of freedom. But that freedom isn't just $1 at a time falling off your credit report. That freedom is you. That freedom is you walking and being transformed and being renewed and being like, you can say, I walked in here a certain way and I'm walking out different.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only am I going to give you the tools and I'm going to give you all the things to do, but I am creating an environment where you can prophetically walk in and leave different. And so that's why I'm so super excited about this experience, because hopefully you get to meet Eddisa in person. You coming?
I'm going. I'll be
Okay.
there.
Okay. And you get to hear more from her and her story and things like that. But you'll have brunch provided. It's going to be very luxurious brunch. Come dressed like you're free. So, like, literally, reach
The
into your
most.
closet, get your best, because it's going to be great. And I really do believe that lives are going to be changed and transformed, and journeys are going to be like, you was going on one path, and now you're going on a whole different path, the path that you're supposed to be on. So, anywho, come to the Freedom Experience, and you can go to www.thefreedomexp.com, and you can save your spot right now. There's a two-pay option that is available until midnight today, and then after that, you can still get in. You just have to pay the full price. So lock it in. And I'm so excited. Thank you, Eddisa, for joining me today and for sharing your story. You already know how I feel about you, and you already know that I'm with you on this journey, and I can't wait. I'll tell y'all this before I go. I'll tell you this. Yesterday, I was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday I did a live about 3 ways to pay off debt. One of my clients got on there, and she put on there like, hey, this stuff works. Like,
Mhm.
she's paid off so much debt. Then she texted me later last night and said, hey, sis, I just want to let you know my credit score is 703. And I'm just
Ooh.
like,
Double blessing, double
God,
portion.
like, that is life changing. That is freedom. Like, the things that you can do. One other thing, because I'm on fire right now, I got to get it
Go
out.
say it. Say it.
God is in the season where He wants the believers
Mm.
to step up,
Yeah.
get themselves together, and get themselves in order, because what He wants to do
Hmm.
is put us on top,
Yeah.
and not just in believing,
Hmm.
not just in praying,
Yeah.
not just in all of those things, but He wants us to be financially equipped to make change in the world,
Yes.
and whatever that is for you. So if you have a foundation you want to start, if you believe in policy, if you like whatever that is, the only way we can have real power is by being financially secure, right? Having funds to make change in the world. We give to our churches so they can make change in the world. If we don't think money is a source of that, like, come on. God talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
And so He wants to line us up, and He wants to get more believers up there that are making change and being the result of that. So I believe that, and I'm committed to taking as many women with me as I possibly can.
Let's all go.
Let's go. We were only supposed to be on here for 30 minutes, but the
That's okay.
conversation got good. So if you guys watch this back, let me know your feedback in the chat. Let me know what resonated with you. Share this again to a friend, because I do feel like Eddisas story is just, she's so transparent, she's so real, and so many people can resonate with it. So thank y'all for hopping on. Eddisa, thank you. Go enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes. See you tomorrow. Bye,
Bye.
guys.